Welcome back, everyone. Dan Vega here, and today I want to talk to you about Vue 3. So I just returned home from Vue Conf US, all fired up. There's a bunch of things I want to work on, a bunch of takeaways I took from the conference. And so today we're going to talk about one of those. Before we do, if you've never been to Vue Conf, I'm not getting paid to say this. Amazing conference, just really great people. Everyone was so friendly, really beautiful location too in Fort Lauderdale. Definitely check it out. They announced that next year's conference is going to be in New Orleans. So that should be a lot of fun. VueConf US, make sure you don't miss next year's. It's a whole bunch of fun. So first off, I gave a talk on what's new in Nux 3, and I thought the talk went really well. I got some really great feedback. People said some really nice things to me afterwards, so that was always encouraging. If you're interested in more Nux 3 content, I have a whole bunch of things I want to do in Nux 3, so let me know what you're interested in the comments below, and I'll see if I can put some content together around that. The keynote of the conference was given by Evan You, the creator of Vue.js, and it was the state of Vue, kind of where the Vue ecosystem is at the moment. And he unfortunately wasn't able to be there. He's in Singapore now, and obviously traveling at this time is really difficult. But we did get to see a presentation from him, and he went through this slide deck that he made available. I'll go ahead and link to that below. I just want to cover a couple slides and talk about one thing in specific that I heard throughout the conference. So first off, Vue 3 became the default version on February 7th, 2022. So all of the documentation, the default version on NPM, all of this is now Vue 3. With that, there was a new vue.js.org, which we're going to look at in a second. But this is what I want to really highlight. Vue 3 adoption, 800,000 weekly NPM downloads. That is incredible. Plus 70% since the default version launch, 4x in the past year, now more than 25% of all Vue downloads. So Vue 3 is being adopted. This is really great to see. The one thing that he went through, though, is he started talking about Vue 2.7, what they were doing with 2.7, what they're what they're kind of working on as far as the next features for 2.7. I won't go through that. You can go through the slides or watch a presentation on that. But what I really want to kind of focus in on is this, and that is the Vue 2.7 next steps. The estimated release is the end of 2022, and the Vue 2.7 implications are that this is going to be the final minor release. Vue 2 will have 18 months of LTS starting from the release of a 2.7 stable. The estimated end of life is end of year 2023. So this is going to come fast. We're midway through 2022, end of life, end of 2023. They want to be working on Vue 3 and progressing the framework forward. So not a big deal, I don't think, but I did hear some concerns throughout the conference, and I think a lot of the concerns were, oh, shoot, we really got to start thinking about moving to Vue 3 now. As before, it was just like, oh, we'll wait till we kind of get there. Now that we know that there is going to be an end of life, everyone seems a little bit eager to kind of start moving towards Vue 3. And so I asked a few people, or I heard some people talking, what are the things that are stopping you from moving to Vue 3? And one of the things that I heard was, the composition API looks a little scary for people, and I get that, or just not a syntax or method that they want to be able to write in. So completely understand that. I happen to prefer the composition API for a few different reasons, but I've had some time to adjust to it. So if it's kind of just like something that you've seen and you haven't been able to use, completely get it. What I want to help enforce in this video is that moving to Vue 3 does not mean you are buying into the composition API all in. You can still use the options API. In fact, the documentation has a really nice feature that we're going to look at. So what I want to do, jump into the documentation and take a look at some things, and then we'll create a new Vue 3 project and show how we can use the options API. All right, so here we are on the documentation. Again, this documentation is now Vue 3. So if we go into getting started, it says right here, you are reading the documentation for Vue 3. If you want to check out Vue 2 documentation, here's where you can get it. So what I want to pay attention to is this API reference right up here. So everything by default is using the options composite or the options API. And if you want to switch over to the composition API, you can. So this is going to change based on your preference. So if we go on a quick start, one of the things that I heard a lot at Vue Conf US this year too was just how amazing Vite is. So I've talked about Vite on this channel for a while now, big fan of it. People are really starting to see just how amazing it is and buying into it. And so one of the things that you're going to have to kind of buy into is Vite as the new build tool when you move to Vue 3. So that's one of the things you want to make sure is compatible. When you upgrade, there's a lot of documentation out there on how to upgrade from 2 to 3. I don't want to specifically get into that, but Vite is the new build tool. And so what that means is to create a new Vue project on your machine, you're no longer going to use the Vue CLI, you're going to use Vite. But you can go over to Vite if you want and check that out. There's a great website on it, getting started, kind of all of the features that Vite gives you. Again, I don't want to dive into that. I've done that elsewhere. But you don't need to use just Vite to create a new project. You can say npm init vue at latest. And what this does, it will install and execute the create Vue scaffolding tool. So this is the official Vue project scaffolding tool. And what it does is present you with a whole bunch of options and then scaffolds your project into a folder. So that's what we're going to do right now. And then we'll go ahead and just kind of give you an example that you can still use the options API in your Vue 3 project. All right, so here I am in a folder called Playground, and I'm just going to run that command that we saw in the documentation. So it's npm init, and we're going to use vue at latest. And so if we run that, we're going to say, I need to install the following packages, create Vue at latest. Sure, sounds good to me. Okay, what is your project name? So we're going to say hello Vue 3. And now we get a bunch of options on how we're going to configure our project. Do we want to add TypeScript? I'm going to say no for now. No to JSX. Vue router, no. Pina, no. vtest. And as I'm filling these out, this makes me kind of think back to Vue Conf as well. We've seen a dramatic shift from Vue 2 to Vue 3 on kind of the recommendations for different libraries. So we can see that for Pina for state management is now the default. vtest for unit testing is now the default. So really good to see Vue 3 kind of adopting these new tools like Vite, Pina, vtest, etc. ESLint, no. And so I'm going to cd into hello Vue 3. I'm going to run npm install. And once that installs all of my dependencies, which was very quick, I'm going to run npm run dev, and we'll go ahead and check it out in the browser. So as you can see, this is the new scaffolded homepage. Vue, you did it. You successfully created a project with Vite and Vue 3. There's links to the documentation, tooling, ecosystem, community, and support Vue. Some really beautiful icons and just an awesome looking homepage to get you started. Of course, we'll go ahead and delete all of that once we're ready to go. All right, so here I have the project on split screen. We can see VS Code on the left, our browser on the right. You can see that I love how this is able to change based on our screen real estate. It's very responsive. So great, again, just a really great kind of starting page. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and get rid of all of that. I'm going to say I don't need any of the icons or these. So we'll delete that in our app.vue. I'll probably just go ahead and get rid of all of this, and I'll say view. And this is my normal kind of setup. But I'm not going to use the script setup. So what I want to do is just kind of point out that we could still use the options API. So I can come in here and say export defaults. We'll give it a name of app. And then in the data, in data, we'll go ahead and return a message, hello Vue. Let's say hello Vue 3. And then in our template, I'll go ahead and use a heading 1, and we'll go ahead and display message. So if we save that, we're actually not running anymore. So I'm going to run this, npm run dev. And there we go, hello Vue 3. So we're still using the options API, but we also have the option, I'm using my air quotes here, but we have the option to move over to the composition API if we can. So I just wanted to point this out because I think this was something that people may have misunderstood. If you're moving to Vue 3, that doesn't mean that you need to buy all into the composition API. You can still use the options API, which again, if you're moving a large code base that is written in the options API, that's probably your best bet. And then, as you start to develop new components, you can write those using the composition API if you prefer to. So I think with that, that's all I'll do. Go ahead and leave me any comments below. What is stopping you from moving to Vue 3? Is there anything that you would like me to cover here? With that, if you found value in this video, friends, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and as always, happy coding.